Chapter 1. Warriors of the Winds in the vast steppes of the Mongolian Empire, where the sky stretched endlessly like a blue sea and the wind whispered secrets through the grass, lived Temujin, a high commander under the great Khan. He was no ordinary warrior. Temujin was a legend, with scars that told stories of countless victories. His eyes, sharp as eagles, had seen the empire's birth from the chaos of tribes fighting each other. As a young man, he had ridden at Genghis Khan's side, learning the art of conquering not just land, but also hearts. It was a chilly morning in the early 1200s, when the sun was just peeking over the horizon and painting the grass in golden tones. Temujin stood on a hill, surrounded by his loyal riders, thousands of strong men on horses that stamped impatiently on the ground. The air vibrated with excitement. They were heading toward a new conquest, toward the walls that Chinese emperors believed were impregnable. "Brothers," he shouted with a voice that echoed like thunder, "today we ride not for gold or glory, we ride for our people, for the eternal blue skies that watch over us." His men cheered, bows raised to the sky, and hearts beat in time with the thundering hooves. As they galloped forward, Temujin felt the wind whipping against his face, like an old friend reminding him of his roots. He remembered his youth, when as a shepherd boy he had dreamed of uniting the Mongols under a single banner. Now, as a general, he bore the responsibility for the empire's borders, which stretched from east to west like an unstoppable river. But deep inside him burned a fire of loyalty, an honor that could not be bought. He knew that every battlefield was a dance with death, but it didn't scare him, it ignited his soul. Forward, toward the enemy, toward the adventure that awaited. Chapter 2. The Fury of Battle. While the horses thundered across the rolling plains, Temujin and his army approached the mighty walls that guarded the heart of the Chinese Empire. The sun was high now, and the air was filled with the scent of dust and sweat, mixed with the sharp smell of arrowheads dipped in poison. The enemy waited, thousands of soldiers in shining armor, with spears that gleamed like stars. But Temujin felt no fear, his heart pounded with adrenaline, like a drum calling to war. "Formation," he roared, and his men formed like an arrowhead, ready to break through. The bows were drawn, and in an instant, arrows rained down on the enemy like a black storm. Screams echoed through the valley as Chinese warriors fell, but they responded with their own salvos, and the air filled with whistling death. Temujin rode at the front, his sword raised, eyes locked on the wall's gates. An arrow whizzed past his cheek, leaving a bloody streak, but he just smiled. The pain was fuel for his fire. In the chaos of battle, Temujin showed his true strength. He jumped from his horse and climbed the wall with ropes and hooks, his muscles taut like steel. At the top, he met a Chinese captain face to face, their swords clashing in a dance of sparks. "You fight for walls of stone," Temujin hissed as he parried a blow. "I fight for the winds of freedom." With a whirl of motion, he swung his weapon and felled the enemy, his blood painting the wall red. His men followed, roaring his name like a hymn to victory. The battle raged for hours, his body aching with exhaustion, but Temujin's spirit was unbroken. He saw his brothers fall, but each loss ignited a new flame of revenge. As the sun began to set, the wall finally broke, and the Mongols poured in like a tidal wave. Temujin stood in the midst of victory, breathless and covered in dust, but with a smile that spoke of honor. He had not just won a battle, he had proven that no wall could stop the Mongol's soul. But in his heart, he knew that war never ended. Every victory carried the seed of the next trial. Night fell and campfires were lit, while Temujin dreamed of the empire's eternal expansion. Chapter 3. The shadow of betrayal. With the sweetness of victory still on their lips, Temujin and his troops rode deeper into the conquered land, where rivers glittered like silver bands and cities bowed in submission. But beneath the surface lurked danger, like a snake in the grass. Temujin had always been loyal to the Khan, but envious eyes followed him, rivals within the empire who saw his successes as a threat to their own power. One of them, a cunning general named Kasa, had plotted in the shadows, whispering lies in the Khan's ear about Temujin's alleged ambitions to take the throne. Night fell like a dark cloak over the camp, and Temujin sat by the fire, sharpening his sword while sharing stories with his closest warriors. The flames danced in his eyes, reflecting memories of lost brothers and won battles. Suddenly, the silence was broken by the thunder of hooves. A group of riders, led by Khasa, stormed into the camp under false flags. "Traitors!" shouted Temujin and jumped up, sword ready. His men awoke to life, and chaos exploded like a storm. The fight was brutal, close and personal, no bow from afar, but swords clashing in the moonlight, blood splattering the ground. Temujin fought like a raging tiger, his movements a whirl of strength and grace. He felled 2 attackers with a single blow, his voice a roar that echoed, "You betray not just me, but the Empire's soul." But Khasa was sly. He had poisoned Temujin's drink earlier in the evening, and now the hero felt weakness creeping into his limbs, like ice in his veins. A dagger struck him in the side, pain exploding like fire, but he kept fighting, driven by honor and rage. His loyal warriors fought at his side, but the betrayal had spread like poison. Temujin saw Khasa smile triumphantly, and with one last effort, he lunged forward, his sword piercing the traitor's shoulder. "Your honor is lost forever," Temujin hissed as blood flowed from his wound. Khasa fled into the night, but the battle was won. Temujin's men drove off the attackers, but the price was high. Temujin fell to his knees, the world spinning, and he knew the end was near. His heart, which had carried the Empire's dreams, beat weaker. At dawn, with the sun rising like a final tribute, he breathed his last words. "Let the wind carry me home." His warriors wept, for they had lost more than a leader, they had lost a brother. Chapter 4, The Embrace of the Sky. In the pale light of dawn, Temujin's body was carried up to the highest hill in the steppes, where the wind sang an eternal song, and the sky stretched like an infinite blue canvas. His loyal warriors, with tears carving tracks in their dusty faces, had gathered in a circle of honor. They had ridden day and night to return home, carrying their fallen leader like a treasure. Temujin lay on a bed of bows and horse blankets, his scarred face peaceful, as if he slept and dreamed of eternal hunting grounds. The blood from his wounds had dried, but his spirit lived on in every gust of wind that swept over the grass. The ceremony began with the dull beats of drums, echoing like heartbeats from the Empire's soul. A shaman, dressed in feathers and bones, stepped forward and raised his arms to the sky. "O eternal blue heaven, receive your son," he cried, his voice vibrating with ancient power. The warriors sang a hymn, their voices strong and united, telling of Temujin's deeds, how he had broken walls, united tribes, and fought with an honor no one could break. They remembered his smile in the heat of battle, his loyalty like a steadfast rock. One by one, they laid gifts at his side. A bow from his first victory, a dagger dipped in enemy blood, a feather from an eagle symbolizing the freedom he loved. As the sun rose higher, Temujin was carried to the top, where no grave would bind him to the earth. The sky burial was the Mongols' holiest ritual, reserved for the greatest heroes, a return to nature, where the body was offered to the winds and birds. Eagles circled already above, as if they felt the call. With a final farewell, the warriors cut away his armor, letting the wind take his hair and clothes. "Fly free, brother," whispered his closest friend, his voice broken by sorrow but filled with pride. The birds dove down, their wings like thundering applause, carrying Temujin's soul upward toward the eternal heavens. The Empire would remember him forever, not as a dead man, but as a legend who rode on the winds, inspiring new conquests. His death was not an end, but a new beginning, a tribute to the honor that defined the Mongols. And so, under the blue sky, the empire continued to expand, driven by the spirit of Temujin, the eternal warrior. Epilogue. Echoes of the wind years passed, and the Mongolian Empire grew to span continents, its thunderous hooves fading into history's vast tapestry. Yet Temujin's name lingered like an eternal gust, whispered among nomads and kings alike. In the steppes where eagles soar, his honor endures, a reminder that true warriors never truly die. They become one with the endless sky, guiding the brave forevermore.